Adam Cain stood motionless before the panoramic window of the Galactic Council station, his sharp gaze piercing through the swirling nebulae that painted the void of space. The colors, vivid blues, fiery reds, and ghostly greens, spun slowly like the remnants of shattered dreams. The faint hum of the station's life support systems buzzed in the background, blending with the muted footsteps of alien diplomats bustling along the corridor behind him. Through the transparent glass, Adam could see the war's aftermath written in the charred wreckage of civilian transports drifting far off in the distance. Their shattered hulls reflected the faint light of nearby stars, silent witnesses to a conflict that had consumed countless lives. His uniform, pristine and tailored, the deep blue of Earth's diplomatic corps, was a stark contrast to the chaos he observed. In the reflection, Adam saw a man whose face betrayed exhaustion more than years. His dark eyes carried the weight of long nights and impossible decisions, his sharp features etched with lines of frustration and quiet fury. Behind him, the corridor hummed with activity. Aliens of every imaginable shape and color hurried past, their strange appendages waving or bioluminescent markings glowing as they communicated in languages that sounded like whispers, clicks, or deep thrumming notes. None of them paid him the slightest attention. Just another human, just another primitive species representative, confined to watching and learning from their so-called superiors. That was the lie they sold. But Adam had watched enough. A soft chime from the data pad in his hand pulled him back. The screen glowed faintly, projecting a grim report from the Federation. A colony on the edge of contested space had been obliterated, its population erased in an instant by a new weapon deployed by the Crest Empire. The report offered no euphemisms, no attempt to soften the blow. 6 million lives. Gone. Adam's jaw tightened as he whispered to himself, another world turned to ash. His grip on the datapad tightened until his knuckles whitened. Memories flickered before his eyes. The colony he had visited only months ago, where families rebuilt after fleeing other Crest offensives. He remembered the children chasing drones through cobbled streets, the warm light of the settlement's solar towers casting long, inviting shadows. The smiles of hope. All of it erased. Behind him, an alien diplomat passed, a towering blue-skinned counselor with a long, segmented neck and gem-like scales glittering in the station's light. Adam had spoken to him just last week, pleading for stronger action against the Crest Empire. The alien had dismissed him with cold precision, speaking of galactic complexities and strategic patience. Now the counselor walked by without even a glance, his crystalline staff clicking against the floor as though Adam didn't exist. He turned back to the window, the faint reflection of his narrowed eyes meeting his own. "They see us as nothing but spectators," he muttered. "But that's their mistake." The Galactic Council chamber loomed ahead. Its immense circular design rose like a cathedral to bureaucracy, with tiers of seats arranged for the representatives of thousands of species. The air carried a strange blend of scents, the metallic tang of alien alloys mingling with faint floral undertones from organic species. Earth's section, tucked away in the farthest corner, held exactly 3 chairs. As always, it remained sparsely occupied. Adam slid into one of the seats, the cold metal pressing against his back as he observed the room. The main platform lit up, and a crystalline Federation representative began to speak. The alien's voice resonated with a bell-like quality, amplified for all to hear. Behind them, holographic displays filled the chamber with a vivid image, an entire planet reduced to rubble, its atmosphere glowing a sickly green from chemical fallout. The sound of quiet murmurs swept through the chamber like the rustle of dry leaves in the wind. 6 million civilians, the representative intoned, their crystalline form dimming with what might have been grief. A weapon that leaves no survivors. The Crest Empire has crossed every boundary, violated every convention. Adam felt his hands grip the armrests of his chair, his nails pressing into the synthetic material. His gaze darted across the council members' faces, searching for some spark of outrage, some reaction that mirrored his own. Most sat impassively, their alien expressions unreadable. Others exchanged brief glances, subtle nods that spoke volumes to Adam's trained diplomatic eye. Deals were already being made, compromises forged in whispered exchanges. Finally, the council's head representative, a gaunt figure with gray, leathery skin and elongated fingers, spoke. "We will enact further economic sanctions against the Crest Empire. Additionally, a formal protest will be delivered to their leadership." Sanctions. A protest. Adam's breath caught in his chest as fury bubbled within him, his carefully constructed diplomatic mask threatening to crack. Millions were dead, and the council responded with paperwork. His fingers itched to slam down on the table, to shout at the absurdity of it all, but he knew better. Humans were meant to observe, to learn, to stay silent. The session dragged on with the same empty rhetoric, promises of action that would never materialize, arguments over trade routes and reparations that held no relevance to the war raging beyond the council walls. When it ended, Adam walked briskly back to his office, the hum of the council fading into the distance. His small quarters were sparsely decorated. Maps of contested systems covered one wall, each red marker a reminder of the Federation worlds that had fallen. A dim lamp cast a pale yellow glow over the desk, where reports from Earth intelligence sat piled in neat stacks. He sank into his chair, rubbing his temples as the weight of inaction pressed against him. The computer terminal blinked, its soft tone breaking the silence. Adam leaned forward, his heart quickening as he read the message from Lieutenant Elias Voran, a trusted Earth intelligence officer stationed on the council station. The message was terse, its urgency palpable. "Need to meet. Maintenance level 3. Urgent." He straightened his uniform and strode toward the lifts. The station's maintenance levels were a stark contrast to the polished corridors above, dimly lit with exposed conduits running along the ceiling, the air heavy with the faint odor of lubricants and metal. He found Elias waiting in the shadows, his face tight with suppressed tension. "Adam," Elias said, his voice low but firm. He held up a small device, activating a signal jammer to ensure their privacy. "We intercepted something. You need to see this." The intelligence officer handed Adam a datapad. The glowing screen displayed intercepted Crest Empire communications, detailed attack plans, targets marked across the Federation's border worlds, and, chillingly, colonies within Earth's sector. "They're moving closer," Elias said. 3 of these targets are less than 2 jumps from our colonies." Adam's jaw clenched. His thoughts raced, calculations and implications stacking in his mind like a house of cards. He handed the datapad back, his voice steady but laced with steel. "Does the council know?" Elias hesitated, then nodded. "They've known for weeks." The words landed like a blow. Adam's shoulders stiffened, his resolve hardening. He had spent 5 years playing the quiet observer, following the rules, earning the council's contempt. But this was different. "They think we'll keep watching," Adam said, his voice low but brimming with conviction. "That's their mistake." Elias raised an eyebrow. "What are you planning?" Adam turned toward the lift, his voice like a blade. "It's time for the galaxy to see what we've been preparing for." Adam Cain paced the narrow confines of his office, the dim overhead light casting shadows that shifted with his every movement. The datapad Elias had given him sat on the edge of his desk, its screen still glowing with damning evidence. His mind raced, each thought sharper than the next, cutting through the haze of frustration that had plagued him for years. The Crest Empire wasn't just a distant threat anymore. They were coming for Earth's colonies, and the Galactic Council would sit idle until the flames consumed everything. The faint scent of recycled air lingered in the room, metallic and sterile, as Adam leaned against the cool metal wall. He closed his eyes, forcing his thoughts into order, but the images from the datapad burned behind his eyelids. The Crest Empire's meticulously planned routes, the cold efficiency of their destruction mapped out in stark lines and coordinates. A soft chime from the door jolted him back. Adam straightened his uniform, his hand brushing over the insignia on his chest. It was Elias, his expression taut with unspoken urgency. "They've accelerated their timeline," Elias said, stepping inside and placing another datapad on the desk. These are updated intercepts. Their first wave could hit within the next month. Adam's fingers hovered over the screen before gripping the datapad tightly. And the Council? Elias's bitter laugh was a dagger in the silence. Still drafting their next sanctions proposal. They're debating how strongly worded it should be. The words hung in the air like ash. Adam let out a slow, controlled breath, his gaze turning to the map of the contested systems on the wall. Each red mark felt like a scar, a reminder of the Council's ineptitude, their willingness to sacrifice lives for the illusion of control. His fingertips brushed against the edge of the datapad, the cool surface grounding him. "They've known for weeks, haven't they?" Adam asked quietly, though it wasn't truly a question. Elias nodded. "And not just about the Empire's movements. We've been digging into the Council's records. The corruption runs deeper than we thought." He pulled a second datapad from his satchel, its screen flickering to life. A web of names and transactions appeared, a damning lattice of deceit. Adam's eyes scanned the lines, noting familiar Council members tied to unauthorized shipments of advanced weaponry, both to the Federation and the Crest Empire. The realization hit like a punch to the gut. "They're profiting from this war," Adam said, his voice laced with quiet fury. "While entire worlds burn, they line their coffers." Elias placed a hand on the back of a chair, his knuckles white against the metal. "It's worse than that. They've been manipulating Earth's status for years. We found the original assessment report from when we applied for full membership." Adam's gaze snapped to Elias, his eyes narrowing. "What does it say?" "The assessment team was impressed by Earth's military adaptability," Elias replied, sliding the datapad toward Adam. "They recommended full membership, said our ingenuity could benefit the entire Council, but someone altered the report. They painted us as reckless, too dangerous to be trusted with a seat at the table." Adam scanned the document, each line deepening the pit in his stomach. The Council hadn't sidelined Earth because they thought it primitive. They had done so because they feared its potential. The implications churned in his mind, a storm of anger and resolve. "They wanted us silent," Adam said, his voice low, watching, helpless, all while they built a system designed to benefit themselves. Elias nodded, his jaw tightening. "They underestimated us." Adam's grip on the datapad tightened. The sharp edge of determination cut through his frustration. He turned toward Elias, his expression hard as steel. "Prepare everything," Adam said. "I want every piece of evidence, every intercepted communication, every altered report. If the Council thinks they can keep us quiet, they're about to learn how wrong they are." Elias's mouth curved into a faint smile. "What's your plan?" Adam didn't answer immediately. His eyes drifted to the panoramic window, where the vast expanse of space stretched endlessly, the swirling colors of distant nebulas a stark contrast to the cold darkness of the Council's corruption. "We show them who we are," Adam said finally. "No more hiding, no more waiting." The station's maintenance levels were a labyrinth of dim corridors and echoing chambers. The air was cooler here, tinged with the faint, acrid smell of lubricants and machinery. Adam followed Elias through the twisting passages, their footsteps muffled by the sound-dampening tiles. The shadows seemed to stretch and shift with their movements, the only illumination coming from the occasional flicker of an overhead light. Elias stopped before a secured door, his fingers flying over the control panel. The lock released with a soft hiss, and the door slid open to reveal a hidden room. The air inside was heavier, warmer, filled with the faint hum of concealed technology. Adam's eyes adjusted quickly, taking in the array of monitors and holographic displays lining the walls. A small team of Earth intelligence officers worked silently, their faces tense but focused. "This is where we've been monitoring everything," Elias said, gesturing to the screens. "Interceptions, troop movements, Council communications. It's all here." Adam stepped closer to one of the displays, his gaze fixed on a holographic map showing the Crest Empire's fleet formations. The routes were precise, calculated to exploit the Federation's weaknesses and leave no chance for escape. His jaw tightened as he traced the lines leading toward Earth's colonies. "They're planning to choke us off," Adam murmured, Cutting supply lines, isolating key systems. They think we're unprepared. Elias stepped beside him. They have no idea what we've been building. Adam's mind flickered to Earth's hidden shipyards, the countless hours spent in secrecy developing technology that pushed the boundaries of galactic norms. Reverse-engineered alien ships, enhanced with Earth's unique innovations. Weapons designed not just to fight, but to surprise. It was humanity's ace, a quiet defiance against the condescension they had endured. They'll learn soon enough, Adam said, his voice carrying a weight of finality. One of the intelligence officers approached, handing Adam a datapad. Sir, we've decrypted additional transmissions from the Crest Empire. They're planning another major offensive, targeting 2 Federation worlds and a trade route near Earth's border. Adam's eyes scanned the information, his heart pounding with the urgency of the threat. The Federation was teetering on the edge of collapse, and the Council's inaction was pushing it closer to the abyss. Send this to the Federation's leadership, Adam ordered. If the Council won't act, we will. Elias crossed his arms, his expression resolute. Are you sure about this? You'll be going against the Council directly. Adam turned to face him, his gaze unwavering. I've spent 5 years watching, taking notes, biding my time. I've seen enough. It's time the galaxy sees what humanity is capable of. As the team worked behind him, the hum of activity filling the room, Adam felt the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders. He had spent years playing by the Council's rules, navigating their labyrinth of bureaucracy with quiet patience. Now, he was ready to tear those rules apart. The storm was gathering, and Adam Cain was ready to stand at its heart. Adam Cain stood in the dim light of the hidden intelligence room, the faint hum of machinery pressing against his ears. His eyes remained fixed on the swirling holographic map before him. Red markers highlighted Crest Empire strongholds, pulsating like wounds across the galactic landscape. Blue lines showed Earth's hidden fleets, poised but cloaked in the shadows of space. Between them, the Federation's remaining territories flickered faintly, fragile embers threatening to be snuffed out. The air was thick with tension, tinged with the metallic scent of overheating processors. Every breath Adam took seemed heavier than the last, weighted with the knowledge of what lay ahead. Around him, the intelligence team moved with purpose, their whispers sharp and hurried. Elias Voran stood at his side, his expression grim as he reviewed the latest transmission intercepts. The room pulsed with a quiet urgency, each flicker of the holographic display a reminder of the stakes. They're making their next move, Elias said, his voice low but cutting through the din. 2 weeks, maybe less. Their fleet is converging on the Hestia trade route. Adam's gaze remained locked on the map. The Hestia trade route was a lifeline for the Federation, a thread that kept scattered worlds supplied and connected. Losing it would cripple the Federation's resistance, leaving Earth's colonies exposed. They'll hit hard and fast, Elias continued, his tone heavy. They're betting the Federation won't have time to respond. Adam stepped closer to the hologram, the faint blue glow casting sharp shadows across his face. They're not just betting on that, he said, his voice carrying a quiet intensity. They're counting on the Council to do nothing. The bitter truth settled over the room like a shroud. Adam reached out, his fingers brushing against the holographic controls. The map shifted, zooming in on the Hestia trade route. He could see the choke points, the vulnerable nodes where the Empire's fleets would strike. His mind raced, calculations and contingencies forming like pieces of a puzzle. We can't wait for them to act, Adam said, his tone resolute. We need to move first. Elias arched an eyebrow, a flicker of concern crossing his face. Are you suggesting— I'm not suggesting, Adam interrupted, turning to face him. I'm stating, it's time to strike. The room fell silent, the faint hum of the machinery the only sound. The intelligence officers exchanged glances, their faces a mix of apprehension and determination. Adam's words hung in the air, a challenge to the galaxy's status quo. They'll brand it treason, Elias said finally, his voice low. The Council will call us reckless. Adam's lips curved into a faint, bitter smile. They already do. The difference is this time, we'll prove them right. The council chamber was a cathedral of silence. Adam stood near the edge of the room, his figure half-shadowed as he watched the latest emergency session unfold. The head counselor, a tall, gaunt alien with silvery skin, spoke in measured tones, his voice carrying the weight of authority. "The Federation situation grows dire," the counselor said, his elongated fingers gesturing to the central holographic display. "But we must remain cautious. Escalation risks broader conflict." Adam's jaw tightened. Cautious. It was their euphemism for inaction, their justification for standing by while millions perished. His gaze swept across the chamber, noting the subtle glances exchanged between certain council members. He could see it in their eyes, the quiet calculations, the unspoken deals. They weren't just avoiding war. They were profiting from it. As the counselor droned on, Adam's hand brushed against the small data chip in his pocket. It was his weapon, his proof of the council's betrayal. He had spent weeks gathering it, intercepted transmissions, falsified reports, records of clandestine weapon sales. Each piece of evidence was a nail in the coffin of their facade. But it wasn't time. Not yet. The session ended with the same empty resolutions, the same hollow promises. Adam turned and walked briskly from the chamber, his footsteps echoing in the grand hallway. The faint scent of polished stone filled the air, mingling with the faintly alien aroma of the station's atmosphere. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing against him, the storm gathering on the horizon. Elias was waiting for him in the observation deck, his silhouette framed by the vast expanse of space. The stars glimmered faintly, their light distant and indifferent. Adam joined him, his hands clasped behind his back. "They voted for more sanctions," Adam said, his voice laced with quiet disdain. "A strongly worded letter to the Crest Empire." Elias's laugh was sharp and humorless. "That'll stop them." Adam's gaze remained on the stars. "It's time, Elias. We need to act." Elias turned to him, his expression a mix of concern and resolve. "Are you ready for what comes next?" Adam met his gaze, his eyes hard and unyielding. "I've been ready for 5 years." The signal came in the dead of night, a faint chime from Adam's terminal. He sat at his desk, his office bathed in the soft glow of the holographic display. The message was from Earth's High Command, confirming what he already knew. The hidden fleets were operational, the weapon systems primed. Earth was ready. Adam leaned back in his chair, his fingers steepled as he considered his next move. The Council would fight him at every turn. They would call him a traitor, a warmonger, a primitive species grasping beyond its station. But they wouldn't stop him. A soft knock at the door broke his thoughts. Elias stepped inside, a datapad in hand. "We've finalized the plan," Elias said, placing the datapad on the desk. "The fleets are positioned. First strikes can commence within hours of your command." Adam studied the datapad, his eyes scanning the lines of strategy and logistics. It was a masterpiece of coordination, a testament to Earth's ingenuity. Each move was precise, designed to cripple the Empire's war machine while minimizing civilian casualties. "They'll never see it coming," Elias said, a faint note of satisfaction in his voice. Adam nodded, his gaze unwavering. "Good. Let's keep it that way." As Elias left, Adam stood and walked to the window. The stars stretched endlessly before him, their light steady and eternal. He could feel the weight of history pressing against him, the quiet pull of destiny. The galaxy had dismissed humanity for too long, viewing them as observers, primitives. But they were more than that. They were ready to show the galaxy what they truly were. The storm was no longer gathering. It was here, and Adam Cain was ready to unleash it. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with its usual murmur of idle conversations and quiet deliberations as representatives filed in. The faint scent of incense-like compounds mingled with the cold, metallic tang of the station's recycled air. Holographic displays glowed with data projections, casting faint light across the chamber's vaulted ceilings. Adam Cain stood at the edge of the room, his posture rigid, his sharp gaze scanning the assembly. Today was different. Today, they would listen. He stepped forward, his footsteps echoing in the vast chamber as his polished boots struck the stone floor. The murmurs faltered, eyes turning toward him. Adam's voice, steady and deliberate, cut through the silence. "Point of order," he announced, the steel in his tone undeniable. "Earth invokes Article 47 of the Council Charter. I demand speaking rights." The head counselor, a gaunt, silver-skinned alien with elongated fingers, raised his hand. "Observers do not have speaking rights in full sessions. Return to your—" Adam's voice rose, sharp and commanding. "Article 47 allows any member species to speak when presenting evidence of actions that threaten galactic peace. I invoke that right." The chamber fell silent. The head counselor's expression flickered with irritation before he gestured for Adam to approach. The human strode toward the central platform, his every step deliberate, every breath measured. He could feel the weight of the room pressing against him, 1,000 alien eyes watching his every move. When Adam reached the platform, he paused. Slowly, he reached into his uniform pocket and withdrew a small, unassuming data chip. Its metallic surface gleamed under the chamber's light. "For 5 years, Earth has observed," Adam began, his voice carrying a quiet intensity that filled the room. "We have listened, we have learned, and we have watched as this council failed." The words hung in the air, heavy with accusation. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the chamber, but Adam pressed on. "We watched as the Crest Empire waged a war of annihilation against the Federation," Adam continued, his tone growing sharper. "We watched as worlds burned and millions died while this council debated sanctions and protests." The holographic display behind him flickered to life, projecting the data from the chip. Shipping routes, weapon manifests, intercepted communications, all of it damning evidence of the council's duplicity. Adam's voice rose above the gasps and shouts. "This is proof that certain council members have been profiting from this war, selling weapons to both sides, turning death into currency." The room erupted in chaos. Representatives stood, shouting in disbelief or outrage. Adam's eyes scanned the chamber, noting the panic on certain faces. They knew he was right. He raised a hand, silencing the uproar. "And that's not all. For years, this council has suppressed Earth's status, labeling us primitive to keep us out of galactic politics. But while you conspired against us, we prepared." Adam tapped a control on the podium, and the holographic display shifted. Images of Earth's hidden fleets filled the chamber, massive warships emerging from concealed shipyards. The vessels gleamed under the light of distant stars, their designs a fusion of alien technology and human ingenuity. "We reverse-engineered what you thought we couldn't understand," Adam said, his voice cold. "We built fleets you didn't see coming, and we trained for the day when your words would fail." The Crest Empire's representatives sat frozen, their scaled faces pale with shock. Adam turned to them, his gaze unrelenting. "You thought Earth was vulnerable, a target, but you miscalculated. Today we join the Federation. Today we fight." As Adam stepped down from the platform, the chamber erupted once more. The head counselor attempted to regain order, but the damage was done. The galaxy now knew the truth. Adam left the chamber without looking back, his expression unreadable as he walked through the station's echoing corridors. In the hidden intelligence room, the atmosphere was electric. Elias Varan stood by a holographic display, coordinating with Earth's high command. Officers moved with precision, their voices clipped but calm as they relayed orders. Adam entered the room, his presence commanding immediate attention. "Status?" Adam asked, his tone clipped. Elias turned, a faint grin tugging at his lips. "The fleets are mobilized. First strike groups are in position near the Hestia trade route. Stealth systems engaged." Adam studied the display, his eyes scanning the formations. The hologram showed Earth ships poised along critical choke points, ready to intercept the Crest Empire's supply lines. Each move was calculated, every formation a piece of a larger strategy. "What's our window?" Adam asked. 4 hours until their forward fleet enters range," Elias replied. "Our intel suggests they won't expect an ambush." Adam nodded, his mind racing. The plan was bold, almost reckless, but it was Earth's best shot. The Crest Empire's fleets were massive, but they relied on predictable tactics and rigid doctrine. Earth's approach was different, agile, adaptive, and unrelenting. "Begin Phase 1, Adam ordered. "Focus on disabling their logistics. Without supplies, their fleets will crumble." Elias relayed the command, his voice steady as he spoke into the comms. Adam watched as the holographic display shifted, Earth's fleets moving into position. The room buzzed with quiet urgency, every officer focused on their task. The first strikes came swiftly. Earth ships emerged from stealth, their weapon systems lighting up the void of space. Precision strikes disabled supply ships and fuel depots, cutting the Empire's fleets off from critical resources. The holographic display showed the results in real time, explosions blooming like distant stars, the Empire's lines faltering. Reports poured in, each one a victory. Adam listened intently, his expression calm but his heart pounding. This was what they had prepared for, what he had waited for. "Sir," an officer called out, her voice tinged with urgency. "The Empire's reinforcements are moving. They're trying to regroup." Adam's eyes narrowed. "Execute Phase 2. Surround them." The holographic display shifted again, showing Earth's fleets converging on the Empire's reinforcements. Ships moved with precision, their formations fluid and unpredictable. The Empire's commanders scrambled to respond, their rigid strategies failing against Earth's ingenuity. Elias leaned toward Adam, his voice low. "They're panicking. Their comms are a mess." "Good," Adam said, his tone sharp. "Keep them that way." The battle raged on, a symphony of light and destruction. Earth's ships moved like phantoms, striking and retreating, always one step ahead. The holographic display pulsed with the ebb and flow of the conflict, each victory another step toward turning the tide. As the hours passed, the room remained tense, but focused. Adam stood at the center, his presence a steady anchor amidst the chaos. He could feel the weight of every decision, the lives hanging in the balance. But he also felt something else: hope. When the final reports came in, the room erupted in quiet cheers. The first wave of Earth's intervention had succeeded. The Crest Empire's fleets were in disarray, their supply lines shattered. Adam allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction before turning to Elias. "Prepare the next phase," he said, his voice steady. "This is just the beginning." Elias nodded, a faint smile breaking through his grim expression. "They won't know what hit them." Adam turned back to the holographic display, his gaze fixed on the distant stars. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for too long. Today they had taken the first step in proving them wrong, and tomorrow they would take the next. Adam Cain stood at the command center's console, his face illuminated by the flickering holographic display. The room buzzed with activity, officers moving with precision as data flowed across screens and tactical maps. Outside the viewport, the faint glow of distant explosions painted the void, the remnants of Earth's fleets cutting through the Crest Empire's defenses like a scalpel. "Update," Adam said, his voice sharp but calm. Elias Varan stepped forward, datapad in hand. His face was pale but resolute. "Phase 3 is underway. Targeted strikes on their command nodes are destabilizing their entire network. Their response is scattered at best." Adam's gaze shifted to the map where blue markers, Earth ships, moved like a tide against the Empire's red. The plan was working, but they were far from finished. His fingers brushed the edge of the console, the cool metal grounding him amidst the chaos. "Good," Adam said, "but we're not done. What's the status of the Federation?" Elias hesitated, his lips pressing into a thin line. "Holding, but barely. Their forces are stretched thin. If we don't reinforce their flank, they'll lose the outer systems." Adam nodded, his mind racing. The Federation's survival was critical to the plan. Without their support, the galaxy would splinter, and Earth would face the Empire alone. He straightened, his voice cutting through the room like a blade. Relay new orders to the Third Fleet. Have them redirect to the Federation's position. Engage at their discretion, but ensure those systems hold. A communications officer turned in her chair, her expression tight. Sir, that will leave our own flank exposed. Adam's eyes narrowed. Not if we move fast enough. Trust the plan. The officer nodded, her hands flying over the console as she relayed the orders. The room felt charged, every movement purposeful, every decision carrying the weight of the war. Elias stepped closer, his voice low. You know this is a gamble. Adam turned to him, his gaze unyielding. It always was, but the Empire thinks we'll play it safe. They've built their entire strategy on that assumption. We're going to prove them wrong. Elias studied him for a moment, then nodded. Then let's make it count. The next hours passed in a blur of coordinated strikes and countermoves. Earth's fleets pushed deeper into the Empire's territory, their tactics relentless and unpredictable. Each victory felt like a spark in the darkness, a glimmer of hope against the overwhelming odds. But the cost was mounting. Reports of casualties poured in, the numbers stark and unrelenting. Adam read each one, his chest tightening with every name. These were his people, men and women who had trusted him to lead, who had believed in the vision of a better future. He carried their loss like a weight, but it only hardened his resolve. Sir, an officer called out, her voice breaking through his thoughts. The Empire's flagship has been located. It's moving toward the Federation's core systems. Adam's eyes snapped to the map. The flagship was a towering behemoth, bristling with weapons and surrounded by an escort of smaller vessels. It was a statement of power, a symbol of the Empire's dominance. Taking it down would be a blow they couldn't recover from. Prepare the fleet, Adam ordered, his voice steady. We're going after it. Elias's brow furrowed. That's their strongest position. They'll throw everything they have at us. I know, Adam said, his tone unyielding. And that's why we have to strike. If we let them regroup, we lose this war. Elias hesitated, then gave a curt nod. I'll coordinate the assault. As the fleet mobilized, Adam stood at the command console, his gaze fixed on the distant stars. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing against him, the enormity of what lay ahead. But he also felt something else, a quiet, unshakable determination. This is it, he said softly, more to himself than anyone else. We end it here. The battle unfolded like a symphony of chaos, each movement a crescendo of destruction and resolve. Earth's ships surged toward the Empire's flagship, their weapons lighting up the void with brilliant arcs of energy. The Empire's defenses roared in response, filling the space between them with fire and fury. Adam stood at the center of the command deck, his voice cutting through the din as he directed the fleet. Target their forward batteries, keep their fire focused on the vanguard, flank teams, move in on my signal. The deck trembled under the force of a near miss, the vibrations rattling the consoles. The air was thick with the acrid scent of burning circuits, the faint taste of ozone lingering on Adam's tongue. But he didn't flinch. His focus was absolute. Commander Cain, a voice crackled through the comms. It was Captain Veyron of the Vanguard, the lead ship in the assault. We've taken heavy fire, but we're holding. What are your orders? Adam's jaw tightened as he studied the map. The flagship's defenses were formidable, but there was a weakness, a blind spot in their formation. It was a risk, but it was their best shot. Vanguard, press forward, Adam ordered. Draw their fire. Task Group Delta, exploit their flank. Hit them where it hurts. The response was immediate. The Vanguard charged ahead, its shields absorbing a barrage of fire, as smaller ships darted around the edges of the formation. The Empire's flagship reeled under the assault, its weapons struggling to track the unpredictable movements of Earth's fleets. Adam's fists clenched as he watched the battle unfold. The deck shuddered again, the hum of the engines vibrating through the soles of his boots. The air crackled with tension, every breath charged with anticipation. Direct hit on their propulsion systems, an officer called out, her voice filled with urgency. They're losing maneuverability. Adam leaned forward, his voice sharp. All ships, focus fire on their core. Take it out. The fleet responded with precision, their weapons converging on the flagship's central reactor. The ship shuddered violently, explosions rippling across its massive hull. Adam could feel the momentum shifting, the Empire's forces faltering as their flagship crumbled. "They're retreating!" another officer shouted. "The Empire's fleet is pulling back!" A cheer erupted across the command deck, the tension breaking like a wave. Adam allowed himself a brief moment of relief, his chest heaving as the reality of their victory set in. But his gaze remained fixed on the map, where the remnants of the Empire's fleet disappeared into the void. This was a turning point, but it wasn't the end. Not yet. "Send the message to the Federation," Adam said, his voice steady but laced with exhaustion. "The flagship is down. Their systems are secure." Elias approached, a faint smile on his face. "You did it." Adam shook his head. "We did it, but the real work starts now." The dawn of a new day broke over the Galactic Council station, the light of distant stars casting a faint glow across the chamber. Adam stood at the central platform, his figure silhouetted against the holographic display. Around him the representatives sat in silence, their faces a mix of awe and respect. "The Empire thought we were weak," Adam said, his voice carrying across the chamber. "They thought we would stand by while they destroyed everything we hold dear. They were wrong." He paused, his gaze sweeping the room. "This isn't just about Earth. It's about all of us, about standing together against tyranny, against corruption. Today, we proved what happens when we act, and tomorrow, we build a future worth fighting for." The chamber erupted in applause, the sound filling the vast space. Adam stood tall, his heart heavy with the weight of their losses but filled with hope for what lay ahead. The galaxy had learned a lesson it wouldn't soon forget. Humanity had arrived, and they weren't going anywhere.